Okay, you guys, so I'm trying to get to the bottom of Nicki Minaj almost losing a $20 million mansion because of pure stubbornness. And this story is wild because it did not have to go this far at all. We are talking about Nicki Minaj, international superstar, world tours, massive checks, almost having her Hidden Hills home forced onto the market over a judgment that should have been handled years ago. And let's be clear from the jump, this situation didn't pop up out of nowhere. This has been brewing since 2019, and it finally reached a boiling point in 2024 when the courts basically said enough is enough. Now let's get into the receipts, because this isn't social media gossip. This is court paperwork. Back in 2019, Nicki Minaj was performing in Frankfurt, Germany. There was a concert, there was security, and according to the lawsuit, a security guard by the name of Thomas W., listen, I'm not even going to butcher his last name, was working that show. According to him, Nicki was in some sort of heated argument with a female security guard backstage. When Thomas stepped in to intervene and de-escalate the situation, things allegedly went left in a very serious way. He claims Nicki's husband, Kenneth Petty, punched him in the face. Not a shove, not a push, a punch that resulted in a broken jaw. And y'all, this wasn't some minor injury. This man had to undergo multiple surgeries. We're talking about 5 metal plates in his jaw that he now has to live with permanently. That is not no light work. A broken jaw can affect how you eat, how you talk, how you live your day-to-day life. So in 2022, after dealing with years of medical treatment and ongoing issues, he decided to sue. According to the lawsuit, he was seeking about $21,000 to cover medical bills and roughly $700,000 for pain, suffering, and long-term damage. Altogether, the total ask was around $721,000. Here's where things start to get messy. Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty did not respond to the lawsuit at all. No filing, no defense, no appearance, nothing. And let me be very clear for anybody watching. When you ignore a lawsuit, you are not standing your ground. You are handing the other side a win. Automatically. That is how the legal system works. If you don't show up, the court assumes you have nothing to say in your defense. So in March of 2024, the judge issued a default judgment in favor of the security guard. The judge didn't even give him everything he asked for. The award came out to a little over $500,000. And even after that judgment was entered, months went by with no payment, no installment, no settlement check, nothing. So now the case shifts from you owe this money to how do we force you to pay? And that's when Nicki's Hidden Hills mansion entered the chat, a property valued at around $20 million. And the security guard's lawyer said, okay, if you're not going to pay voluntarily, we're going to enforce this judgment by going after assets. This is where it really makes you wonder what Nicki and her team were thinking, because the lawyer took it back to the judge and requested permission to force the sale of Nicki's home to satisfy the judgment. The judge agreed in principle. The only thing holding it up was one last document from Bank of America confirming mortgage details. Once that paperwork came in, the judge was prepared to sign off, meaning the court was literally hours away from greenlighting the sale of her house. Now fast forward to the day of the hearing. Suddenly, Nicki Minaj wakes up. Suddenly, the check clears. Just hours before the judge could finalize that order, the money was paid. The security guard's attorney later told Rolling Stone that they had to go all the way to the 1-yard line to get paid. Translation, they had to threaten everything before she finally moved. And let's be real, that is embarrassing. Not because she couldn't pay, but because she clearly could and chose not to until her back was completely against the wall. After court, the lawyer spoke publicly and said the judgment had been satisfied and there was no longer a need to proceed with selling the house. He also said his client was relieved, gratified, and happy that justice was finally done after years of waiting. And honestly, listening to him talk about the physical and emotional toll this took on his client, it's hard not to side-eye the whole situation. This man waited years, had permanent damage, and still had to fight just to get what the court already awarded him. Now, here's my commentary, because let's be real for a second. I understand loyalty. I understand standing by your husband. I even understand feeling like someone was wrong in a heated moment. But ignoring a lawsuit is not a strategy. That is not how the real world works, especially when you are dealing with international incidents, physical injury, and documented medical treatment. Nicki is not some regular person without access to lawyers, advisors, and financial managers. Somebody dropped the ball, or she flat out refused to engage. And another thing that bothers me is this. Kenneth Petty is the one accused of throwing the punch, but Nicki is the one cutting the check. If this is true, it's very concerning because it keeps reinforcing this pattern where she absorbs the consequences while he stays in the background. 5 plates in someone's jaw is not a rumor. That's a lifetime reminder of one bad moment.